You are listening to the Becoming the Wealthy You podcast with Jermaine Foley. If you're a woman who makes good money in your career or business, but you're not building wealth like you want to, then you're in the right place. In this podcast, you'll learn how to stop overspending, break free from the cycle of debt, save lots of cash, and become the wealthy woman you were born to be. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Okay, you guys, I have Scott Carson with me today. He is a real estate investor with over 20 years of experience buying distressed properties across the United States. So he is here today. He is going to tell us how to get started in real estate investing. So this is for you if you've thought about it, if you're just like, you know what, it sounds interesting, but I don't know. I don't want to lose money. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to start. Well, if that's you, you are in the right place because I have Scott with me today and you're going to absolutely love his voice. All right, Scott, let him hear it.
I'm going to turn the camera off then because I got a voice for podcasting. Now, what is going on, Jermaine?
And I think it would be fun just to tell people how we met. So we met back in, was it September or October? I can't remember.
It was September in Portland, Oregon.
Yes, at this amazing conference called FinCon. It was my first time, and I think it was one of the second to the last days. I sat right next to Scott. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to be on each other's podcast. Because when he started talking, I was like, the voice. I love the voice.
Hang on, I'll put a mask on here. How's it going today? No, yeah, no, I mean, that's great. I mean, that's a great thing about FinCon. It was the 15th anniversary. It's been my fourth or fifth time to going. And it's just a great gathering of amazing people, as they say, where money and marketing meet there in FinCon. And it's always my favorite event. You've got people all over the place, from like real estate investing like me to finance to budgeting to accounting to bookkeeping to realtors, anything in the finance space. And whether you've got a podcast or a YouTube channel or a newsletter, so many great people. And you learn from so many people who are doing amazing things out there. And yeah, it was great. And I had you on my podcast, and it did very, very well. And excited to be here and share some insight to get folks if one of their biggest goals, obviously, the New Year's is maybe start investing in real estate or learn how to do that. I'm here to help you kind of walk that path to getting started. You don't have to do what I do. You mentioned in the intro that I do a lot of distressed real estate. I focus on a niche within a niche. Mm-hmm. I buy distressed mortgage debt where somebody hasn't paid their mortgage in 6 months to 6 years or longer in some cases. Mm-hmm. And we deal with a lot of banks and hedge funds. We buy that mortgage debt at usually a discount. And then we make a good return by then either reaching back out to the bar and say, hey, listen, what happened? What's your country western song? Did grandma get run over by a reindeer? Did your dog die? Did you get divorced? Did you get sick? Why can't you pay anymore? Do you want to stay or do you want to go? Well, if you want to stay, you got to pay. We got to figure something out that makes sense. And so we were really blessed that we were able to keep about 70% of our borrowers in their homes. 30% 30% of the time we try to be very friendly, cash for keys, like let's get you out of a bad situation. We'll take the property, we'll forgive you the debt and let you walk on and go do something else and kind of get that aspect of things. But, I started off like many folks, trying to figure out what I wanted to invest in. I actually fell flat on my face, Jermaine. I grew up in a small South Texas town called Ingleside. So I always say I'm an Ingle-dink from Ingleside, Texas, down by Corpus Christi. And when we moved to Austin, got married out of college, had a good job. We bought our first house, which is the first investment that most folks do. And that was my eye-opening to that. If you're buying your first house, you'll learn a lot about, oh, crap, what I have to do for financing and find the right house and go on that aspect of things. A very emotional process, I guess you could say. And if you're going to be a real estate investor, I think the most important thing you do is take the emotion out of it. Make sure that the numbers work for you. And that means making sure you can afford it. You really have to, before you get down and start looking at properties, you got to clarify what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. A lot of folks want to get into real estate investing. They go, I want to be that next landlord, or I want to flip this house. Well, if you're watching HGTV or watching Magnolia from the folks up in Waco there, that's fictional TV. I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? You know, flip this house and all that stuff, finding, if you're recycling cans and then your spouse is a basket weaver, you're not going to be able to afford $1 million house. Okay. I'm always amazed at these people that have low incomes. I'm like, that's not real. That's not going to happen. So the best thing I'm going to tell you to do is figure out really what you want to do and what your goals are and how much time you have to commit to investing. And if you want to be passive, where you don't have to do a lot of work, there are opportunities out there for you. If you want to be more active, there are opportunities out there for you to do. So if you like the idea of fixing up properties or rehabbing and being the next fix and flipper, that's great. But you also got to keep in mind, where are you living, what's available in your market. You're going to learn more than anything book or class can teach you by actually flipping your own property. But education is key, like anything else out there. So I would say is before you start signing up for a workshop or going out and betting off on properties, the number one thing that you can do, and by all means, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, everybody, is go find your local real estate investment club. There are meetup groups, real estate investing associations in every city across the country. And you need to go and network with other folks in your area and ask them what they are doing. I will tell you this, that real estate investors are some of the most giving of their times. They want people to succeed. They don't want you to make the same mistakes that they did. Not every niche works in every city across the country. I mean, a lot of people are like, I want to go do Airbnbs. Well, you may be in a city that has an ordinance that doesn't allow that. You may not know the cost that goes along with it. Especially in a lot of cities, there may be an oversaturation of that type of deal flow. And like we see in Florida and Austin, or outside of Austin, because you can't do Airbnb in Austin.
Really?
You can't. You can, but you've got to get a special permit from the city. If you go to try to do it on the download, there are actually 3 different organizations, Jermaine, that will fine you heavily if they find you doing a short-term Airbnb. Now, if it's 30 days or longer, you can get away with that, but there's a lot of places that don't like that. And we see more and more cities trying to enforce that type of legislation at the local level.
Okay. Well, let me just say this. Most of the women listening, they make good money.
Yep.
And they may have some thoughts in their head, like, I should be further along by now. A lot of them may think that they're not ready for investing because maybe they still have some credit card debt. Maybe they don't have as much saved in an emergency fund. Maybe their retirement isn't where they want it to be. Do you think there's a certain place you should be financially before you even start considering real estate investing?
Here's the greatest thing, and that falls in line with the money side of things, right? Do I need money saved? And actually, you don't need money. I know, wait a second. People are like, what? When I got started, and I'm going to give you a little bit of idea. I bought my first 2 rental properties. I financed them 100%. Then I got laid off, and my tenants got laid off, okay? Me and my wife at the time were trying to make 6 mortgage payments on a private school salary, okay? Didn't happen. We faced foreclosure. We got rid of the 2 investment properties. So I couldn't finance a stick of gum at the time. And so I went and networked to learn out that there are a ton of people out there with private money. There are also hard money lenders that will lend you on flicks and flips. So there's a lot of money out there. Now, the biggest thing is most people I don't have money in my account. I don't have money in my retirement account, stuff like that. If you keep waiting to save, you're never going to get where you want to be. Here's a little thing. Jesus saves, but everybody else has to invest. Okay? Okay? So that's why this part about going out and networking. You'll find people that come to these investment clubs that have money sitting in a self-directed IRA that they will lend to you if it's a good deal, and they'll lend you the money to purchase that property, or if you're buying it cheap enough, they'll lend you the rehab costs as well, and you can turn around and fix it up and then sell it off, or if you've got good credit, then refinance it in long-term, stuff like that. But when I got started, I couldn't, like I said, I had horrible credit. I didn't have anything saved. So I had to go out and talk to people and network with people in my local community to fund my deals, because they weren't really looking at me. They were looking at the deal. And we put parameters in place because we were buying at such a good price. Worst case, If I didn't pay or the deal didn't go, they would take the property back and they had all this equity because we were buying it at like 65, 70 cents of the dollar. So it was a good investment. My lack of having a credit score was outweighed by the profit margin on the property if something went sideways.
Okay, so that makes sense. So then where could real estate investing fit in someone's overall investing strategy? Like, do you recommend that everyone becomes a real estate investor, or like how would you know if this is for you or not?
So first and foremost, everybody, if you're going to buy a house, your primary residence is going to be probably your biggest investment for the most part. So you have to look at what city you're in. And this is where I'll throw an asterisk up there a little bit. Because
Okay.
right now in America, and I know you've got the smartest people listening to your podcast out there, all right? Smartest, the most beautifulest, the most educated people out there. In the United States today, if you're going to buy a house, actually, it's probably going to be cheaper in about 70% of the major cities out there to actually rent versus buying a house right now as the market is. Okay.
Hmm.
So keep that in mind. But there's a lot of people they'll start off with the idea of house hacking. Well, they can qualify for an FHA mortgage or are hardworking veterans. They can get VA loans, stuff like that, where they may be able to bring a zero down, where they buy a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. And so they're living in one of those units and renting out the other sides of them. And that's house hacking. And you do that for a couple of years. That's great. You could turn around and buy a new primary residence and not have to pay, either sell that house off and not have to pay any taxes on the depreciation because you lived in it for 3 out of 5 years, or just keep it as a rental and then go buy a new primary. And we've got friends that's all they do. They buy a house like once every 3 years. And they house hack it. They get that great financing because it was the bank financing, bringing very little down and go on that route and doing it. But and like I said, it's all about if you work a full-time job, you're working 70, 80 hours a week, you don't want to create another job by buying a property out there and trying to fix it. And if you don't like people, you sure as heck don't want to be a landlord. All right. And stuff like that. But you can hire property managers. You can hire people to do the heavy lifting and the rehab for you if you've got a great deal that will allow for you to offset that. Or if you like doing stuff on the weekends, you've got time, by all means, that's something you can do as well too. But it's a totally individual decision out there, and everybody is unique. If somebody tells you, oh, you should be a full-time real estate investor, I would ask them 3 questions. A, are you a full-time real estate investor? B, when was the last time you bought something? Is it something in the last 6 months, or has it been 6 years from you bought something? And C would be basically the third question is what's working in today's market, and making sure you're talking to people that are doing stuff, they're closing stuff in your market, and because every market is so unique out there, Jermaine. You know what I mean? It's just that's the thing is for some people buying maybe it's not buying a property, maybe it's buying a note that's paying
Okay,
them
so what is that? Tell us what a note is.
So there's a mortgage. You have a mortgage on your house. That's considered a note, an IOU, right? Everybody's in the note business. Whether you've got a car payment, student loan debt, credit cards, you own your cousin Bubba down the street, $500. You're in the note business. Most of you are paying money out instead of receiving money in. So a note is you're buying basically for the residential side of things or real estate investing side. You're technically financing a property and offering somebody like owner financing if you have a property that you're willing to sell them and you be the bank, or B, you're going out and buying a note that somebody else originated, whether it's a note that a bank originated or B, an investor originated on a house that they're selling. And you're basically stepping in, buying that note at a bit of a discount, becoming the lender, but now you're receiving payments. And like what I like to do is we'll buy notes that are like at 50 to 75% of what's owed. We'll buy them at a discount, so we get a 8 to 12% cash and cash return. The great thing when you buy that note, you don't necessarily own the property, but you're the bank. So nobody calls the bank when the pipes break. Nobody calls the bank when the HVAC goes out, right? You only call the bank like, hey, I got to make my monthly mortgage payment, or B, I'm selling the house and I need to pay you off, stuff like that. So that's the aspect that I like is buying these notes for cash flow. You buy something, people are going to pay you 3, 5, 7, 10 years. Everybody's always worried about, well, if I invest money, is that money going to be tied up for 30 years? And it could be, but realistically, 95% of people are moving every 5 to 10 years. So it's actually buying at a discount and getting paid off in full in a few years usually.
So after
And
they sell it, then you're the one that's getting paid off because you have the lien on the
exactly, you're
property.
the bank, got to pay the bank to be able to sell
Dang.
it. You know what
Okay.
I mean? And then the great thing is you don't have to go out there and collecting. There are third-party servicing companies out there that will do that collections. They'll be that go-between. So you don't have to be calling the bar like, hey, Jermaine, I need to get my mortgage payment. It's the 5th, you're late. No, no, no. There's people that do that for $35. Jermaine, it is now the 5th. You now got to pay us. Oh, pay? Well, then you'll be hearing from the attorney to get
Yeah.
that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why we only buy first lien position. That means they're the most dominant ones. If they foreclose on, they either sell off the property at the auction, or they end up taking the property back and going from there. They're like buying a foreclosure. So,
Okay. So, you know what I think will be fun is if we kind of go down the list of different levels of real estate investing. So,
sure.
of course, your own primary residence. Do you consider that investing at all if you buy your
I
own home?
honestly think you have to. I mean,
Yeah.
that's for most folks, that's going to be their biggest investment anyway, even if they're not to, because you're going to have appreciation. You get tax write-offs with that, the interest deduction, and that's the biggest investment for most folks in a lot of cases
Yeah.
out there.
I
And
agree.
so you learn more so that way, whether you like to mow the lawn or you don't like to mow the lawn. If you don't like to mow the lawn, then don't buy a property. You got to keep up with the rental and the maintenance and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
your first house is great, but here's the thing: if you don't buy a house, there's plenty of people out there that get into real estate that don't own a house; they rent, and they are either buying property, or what everybody can do to start off with is wholesale. You can wholesale real estate where you go like driving for dollars, or you're sending out letters or postcards to foreclosure listings or vacant properties. You talk with a borrower, the property owner, and get it under contract, and then you sell that contract off to another investor like me who'll come in and pay you a finder's fee or a wholesale fee. And that could be anywhere from a few $100 or up to a few $1,000. It all depends on the deal and what the deal holds and how big of a discount you're getting and how much work is needed to the property. So wholesale is where a lot of people want to get started because they don't have to have any money to do that besides some marketing costs. The
Okay.
problem with wholesaling, as I always say, is you're doing all this work to find buyers. You might as well do that same amount of work to raise capital and buy the deal yourself to make the lion's share of the profit. If you're going to do all the work, you might as well get all the profits, the way I look at it, because it's a lot of the same activities of talking to people and networking and marketing the profit and
Okay.
marketing the property, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Okay, so your primary resident, then from there, when I think of real estate investing, I just think about being a landlord.
Yep.
And you're saying that is only for certain people.
I think so for the most part in an area that you have to be active with that. Understand that you're not going to be a passive aspect. There are complete companies out there that will go buy properties, fix them up, put renters in it, and they basically can sell those properties on a turnkey investment where they do the property management side of things. And there's nothing wrong with that. What's going to happen a lot of times is the biggest thing that stinks most of the time is management. Right? Some property managers are good, and some of them are just out to get your 10% fee per month in a lot of cases. So always ask for like multiple references if you're going to go that route of property managers.
Okay.
And then also find out what's going on. You may have to put a month in reserve in case of any repairs, and can you afford that extra month or that extra money in case something happens? Any type of rental property, you're going to have some sort of turnover or vacancy factor that could be a month to 2 months or 3 months. And knowing what's going on in your market right now as far as like days on market and how competitive you got to be, you got to understand that. Can you afford for the property to be vacant for 2 or 3 months and stuff like that? A side bit of rental property is Section 8, government housing. And some markets are really great for that. There's a long waiting list where you can actually charge more than what Section 8 pays. In other areas, it's not a big waiting list, and people take advantage of that. I'll give you an example. Like if you're down in Miami-Dade takes 90 days to pay their first payment to you. So that means getting somebody in, they move in, they're there for 3 months before you get a payment from Miami-Dade County. That's all 3 months of rent that they're owed. But that's a chunk of time to be sitting there paying that mortgage, taxes, and insurance along the way while waiting for the Miami-Dade County to go ahead and pay you. So and that's why the important thing of networking is finding out what's working. So rentals is great. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people like that short-term rental side where it's the turnover.
So that's like the
Airbnb.
Airbnbs and things
Yes,
like that.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a very good friend who does a lot of Airbnb up in Minneapolis. He's got it had to hire his own cleaning company to go do that because the downturn, you run into issues from people from time to time, like you have security cameras, and one of his houses just got completely trashed by young kids at New Year's, where they're supposed to have 4 people instead 40 people showed up to the place. He had to hire and fire cleaning crews multiple times because they wouldn't get there in time, and the new person's trying to check in. They find, dirty laundry or dirty, kitchen. So there's that act. It may be passive a little bit, but you've also got to be very active in it. And I've got,
Absolutely.
you know what I
I have
mean?
a friend who is heavily involved in short-term rentals in the Nashville
Hmm.
area. It can be very lucrative, but also competitive.
Yeah.
But I heard someone say something and I just really thought it was profound. Like when you go into short-term rentals like Airbnbs or vacation by owner, you're not just going into the real estate business, you're going to the hospitality business as well.
Yes. So true.
Yeah, because people
So
were
true.
coming on vacation and they want to make sure the towels are clean and everything is stocked in the kitchen. So just be aware of the business you're actually getting into.
Yeah, you don't necessarily want to swap one job for another job. You know what I mean? And if you're
Absolutely.
thinking about it, go find folks that are doing those types of investments in your area and go talk with them. I guarantee they'll let you tag along with them, a little sweat equity or stuff like that. And you can find out more so the real stuff by getting your hands dirty versus just watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts. Nothing wrong with that, but you got to be expected to roll up your sleeve and go to work a little bit.
Well, and that goes back to what you said at the beginning. Get involved in your local real estate investing clubs so that you can talk to real people in your town doing what you want to do.
Hmm.
So, the other one I wanted to talk to you about, because I've actually been interested in this myself, but I haven't done a lot of research yet. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but REITs, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep, a REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust.
Yes.
Okay. And what that is basically a REIT or a syndication. We also have that go by where you have companies or individuals that go out and they raise capital and they go buy an apartment complex or a self storage facility, or they're investing in that in a bigger level. Syndications are you have an investor goes buy an apartment, they go raise capital from investors at $50,000 to $100,000 or more a chunk, and then you're getting a portion of the profit based on your ratio of investment. And those can go very well. Usually you're going to have your money tied up for 3 to 5 years, depending on the deal. There's been a lot of kind of ugly press in the news lately about apartment syndications because people overpaid for them a few years ago. They thought they could refinance out, and rates double tripled, and they can't refinance out, and a lot of those in trouble. So if you're going to invest passively in something like that, make sure you do your research on the operators and the deal flow, and talk with them. Hey, what happens if something goes south like that? Now, REITs are kind of like investing, kind of like the stock market, like an index fund in a lot of cases, in a specific asset class. There may be a REIT that's just focused on investing in self-storage facilities across the country, or multifamily, or hotels, or rental REIT, stuff like that. So do your research on the REIT and make sure it's something that you want to invest in, and you like the asset class of it. And like I said, you can invest in smaller amounts into a REIT and stuff like that, depending on what their minimum investment amount is.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so you mentioned index funds and things like that. So where do you think investing in real estate fits in an overall portfolio? Do you think that people should make sure that they're, doing the traditional investing and then add in real estate investing? Or what are your thoughts about that?
So my thoughts, and I'm going to take a gander. I'm willing to bet that your audience is still working, is
Yes.
working a big chunk of the time. So I think the number one thing before you start going out and buying a rental property, buying anything like that, is make sure you're investing in your 401k. If they've got any type of matching, that's going to max out that matching. That's the most important aspect. That's the first thing, and evaluate that. Evaluate what's going on in that on a regular basis. The next thing I would do is outside of that is then secondly start a Roth, a self-directed IRA, a Roth or traditional. You can self-direct an HSA as well. The great thing about investing into a self-directed IRA outside of like a Chase or an AG Edwards is you can actually use a self-directed IRA from a self-directed IRA custodian to actually invest in real estate or invest in notes as well. Or if you've got old 401k, you can roll it over into a self-directed traditional IRA and use that money to invest in it. So those are the things to set up initially. And I think if you want to do it, it's something you're passionate about and you like it, do some research, take a class. Number one rule is, I always say, is learn about what you're investing in. Just don't take somebody else's advice. You got to get educated, whether it's taking a class or following up with people. Learn about that asset class. Never invest in something you don't know something about. That's the whole reason we started teaching classes years ago about note investing, was to teach people how notes are different than a rental property, or notes are different than REOs and fix and flipping and stuff like that. So get educated and really spend time on it. And then, like I said, if you fall in love with this and this is something that you want to do, then don't go quit your job to do it full time. Build a path, build a runway, 12, 24 months to get rock and rolling. In today's world, I don't think you should be investing in anything unless you've got at least 6 months of living expenses saved on the side to invest in yourself first and foremost, right, Jermaine?
Yes. Yes.
If you don't have that stuff, then don't be thinking about going. Yes, it can get exciting. There are things like right now with a lot of folks that have lower interest rates, sub 6% interest rates, who are facing foreclosure or facing and not able to make their mortgage payments. Subject to deals are popular right now in the market, where you can come in, take over that borrower's mortgage, have them transfer the property. You're making that mortgage payment. You may have to make up a month, 2 months, 3 months they're behind, but that you're not buying the property. Well, you technically are kind of buying the property from them with the existing mortgage in place and using an LLC or trust to make that transfer take place. That's a little complicated. You always want to make sure.
Say, Scott, you getting complicated.
I'm trying not to, but the most valuable people you can have on your team, besides the people, the Real Estate Investment Club, is a local real estate attorney. So always run your deals by a local real estate attorney, not somebody who's doing law practices, like going and suing people or defending people, stuff like that. Go talk to somebody who's doing real estate stuff. It's one of the most valuable resources to have. My attorney, I talk to on a regular basis about deals, like how should we structure this, or how should we set the paperwork up to make this work? Because you always want to do, if it smells like a duck, it sounds like a duck, and what's the other thing? It walks like a duck, it's a duck. All right?
Duck.
So make sure you're making good ducks versus bad ducks. Okay?
Yes.
Yes. But then also talk to realtors in the area. What's moving? What's going on in the market? What's the things looking like? I mean, here's the thing you got to realize: 83% of realtors didn't close on a sale last year alone.
Oh, wow.
So talk to people who are closing on deals and really have their pulse on the market. They can give you MLS access, or they can pull comps for you. Are, putting a team together is really valuable, so you're not making a bad mistake. If you see a deal and you want to make an offer on it, run it by your professionals, run it by your peers that are in the business, and they can tell you, hey, watch out for this. This looks like a good deal. Check for this, and this, and then go from there.
Well, I think what's really cool about what we're talking about today, and I want to kind of make sure people heard what you said, is real estate investing is amazing, but you first need to have your finances in order. So, 6 months of expenses. If you're working a job, or if you have your own business, you're investing in some sort of 401k or self-employed IRA
pension
or whatever
plan,
it is.
Yep.
Yeah, so that you are protecting yourself, and then you can go out and participate in other things that you're interested in. And not everyone has to invest in real estate, but I know some of you out there are very interested in it, and I think Scott is a great person to follow. So with that, Scott, how can people learn more from you? How can they stay connected to you? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, so easy ways, if you go to our website, weclosenotes.com, it's the number one website out there if you're investing in distressed real estate. We deal with a lot of stuff, and we're not just doing it in Austin, Texas. We're buying real estate in basically 20 to 30 different states across the country. So we see a lot of stuff. If you're in an area, hey, I'm glad to direct you to our friends and colleagues and team members wherever you're located at. We've got people all across the United States that are there to help you. Of course, you can always listen to the podcast, The Note Closer Show, number one podcast out there. Over 1,000 episodes. Ooh. Out there. It's hard to believe. Yeah. I think you're episode 105 actually with your interview. So we'll make sure to send you that. But that's the thing, is just feel free to reach out. There's no dumb questions. I can't iterate that enough. If you're going out and networking and going to a real estate club, don't be a wallflower in the back, not saying something. Ask questions. Everybody starts off brand new, okay, everybody? And when a new investor shows up to Real Estate Investment Club, it's like you've got new friends that just want to help you succeed, all right? Don't be intimidated. If you walk up, just go talk to the person running the event. Hey, who should I sit next to? Or here's what I'm interested in. Who should I talk to? And they'll point you in the right direction. 99 out of 100 times, they'll point you in the right direction.
That is awesome. And remember, don't invest don't invest in anything that you do not understand, right?
So
Get educated. Do not be anxious and in a rush. Understand what you're getting into if this is something that you're interested in.
There's another thing I like to say. In my line of work, I never buy a note on a property that I don't want to end up owning, because if it's not paying and I end up owning it, I'm going to hate it if I don't like it, And then the third thing is try to avoid the OTSC syndrome. And OTSC syndrome stands for, oh, that's so cute. Okay. Take the emotion out of it. Do the numbers make sense, and let the numbers dictate whether you say yes to the deal if it's the type of deal that you like and are educated in.
Love it. And that is the perfect place to end, because we see a lot of cute stuff that we like, and we don't need to buy anything that's cute if it's not for us. Is that correct?
Amen to that, girl. It's like, we all want that brand new Louis Vuitton, but that other Louis Vuitton for a couple of years ago still looks pretty damn good. You know what I mean?
Still looks good. Still has some wear left in it.
That's right. That's right. Quality
Yes.
is what we always say. So I think that's a big thing with your investments, especially real estate. Make sure you're doing quality on stuff, not just quantity.
Love it. Thank you so much, Scott, for being here. And I cannot wait for anyone who's interested in learning more about investing in notes in particular, or any real estate, to reach out to you. I hope they do. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And if you're listening to Jermaine and you've not gone over and left her a 5-star review on the podcast, go do that right now. We as podcasters love to see that. Go do it. Subscribe. Leave that 5-star review. And that's the best thing. If you can reach out to me, I'll be honest with you. Did you leave Jermaine a 5-star review? Go do that first.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you
so much. All right. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, if money is the one area of life you just can't seem to figure out, even though you make good money, you're not alone. That's why you're invited to book a complimentary one-to-one money consultation with me, so that we can figure out how to solve your biggest money challenges. To sign up, simply go to jermainefoley.com/consult or check out the show notes. Hope to meet you soon.